都看到海了。
There are names for the lines we draw on a map: a road, a railway, a property line, a riverbank. They are the threads that weave together the fabric of a modern society. They provide order, connection, and a sense of permanence. But in the final days of July, in China's Yunnan province, a historic storm arrived to prove that these lines are an illusion, and that the fabric of our world can be unraveled by a force that respects no boundaries: water. It began in the land of deep valleys and winding rivers. The monsoon storms, gathering strength in the mountains, unleashed a torrent of runoff. Streams that normally trickled through villages swelled into brown, roaring beasts, tearing at the earth, snapping tree roots, and swallowing roads whole. First, it came for the land, for the sources of life and livelihood. The carefully tended rice paddies, a patchwork of vibrant green, vanished beneath a murky skin of water. The tea plantations, clinging to the hillsides like generational promises, were torn away in great clumps of earth. Banana groves, once lush and broad-leaved, lay flattened and shredded. Then, the water came for the connections. The lines that hold a society together began to fray, and then to snap. Entire stretches of highway were not just flooded, they ceased to exist. Sections of pavement fractured and collapsed into muddy ravines. The roads linking small towns to major cities, the arteries of daily life, simply disappeared, leaving behind only mangled guardrails and a hollow silence. Bridges, the symbols of connection over obstacles, either buckled under the strain or vanished completely, their foundations scoured away. A province began to break apart into isolated islands of people. The flood then turned its fury on the cities, on the places people called home. In communities like Linkang and Pu'er, the water poured into the streets, not as a gradual rise, but as a sudden invasion. It crept onto doorways, climbed stairs, and laid claim to everything inside. The mundane soundtrack of life, the hum of a refrigerator, the glow of a television, was replaced by the chilling silence of shorted-out appliances.
Putain de merde!
Then came a new kind of darkness. Power substations drowned, and the lights went out across entire apartment blocks. Backup generators sputtered and died. Cell service flickered and then failed. This wasn't just an outage, it was a severing. In a world defined by connection, the digital threads were cut. People were left in the dark, trapped in silent high-rises, listening to the sound of the water climbing ever closer.
哈尔滨都看到海了，哎呦我的妈！
啊？哪里有夠水？真係。
The systems designed to protect the public failed in turn. School classrooms filled with knee-deep water. Clinics were forced to shut down as vital equipment was ruined. And the drainage systems, many built for a different era and a different climate, were completely overwhelmed, turning city streets into a toxic mix of stormwater and sewage. With the province fractured and isolated, its economic heart began to seize. The railways, the great arteries of commerce, ground to a halt. Mudslides swept across tracks, burying them under meters of wet soil. Embankments gave way, leaving rails suspended uselessly in midair. Freight operations froze. Train cars filled with crops, building materials, and electronics sat motionless, their contents spoiling, their deadlines missed. The paralysis spread. Factories and industrial parks shut their gates as water crept into processing plants. Conveyor belts began to rust where they stood. At remote mining sites and construction projects, the silence was absolute. The access roads gone, the machinery idle. This was more than a flood. It was a systemic failure, a cascade of consequences where each broken piece triggered the collapse of another. The flooded farms led to severed roads, which led to isolated cities, which led to a paralyzed economy. It was a brutal lesson in the fragility of the modern world. And as the skies finally begin to clear, they reveal a landscape scarred and a society profoundly shaken. The recovery will not be measured in days or weeks, but in years, perhaps even a generation. It is a long road back from being unraveled, from having to redraw the lines that were so completely erased.
咋个？你看，跑往那个挖机山那里，都没，你看，哇，哎呦。